So
Very interesting.
that was a
Yeah.
very long answer. If you are, God bless.
Hello, PM and product builder. Today, I'm going to share a very interesting conversation with you. So, I got a chance to talk with this amazing individual who is a veteran when it comes to AI product management. He started his career as a computer scientist at the Hubble Space Telescope, like it was 50 years back. After that, he worked with NASA for their first AI initiative. This was also in about mid 1980s. And very recently, after 2015, he has started working again for the big tech. In Uber, he was leading the initiatives on the autonomous vehicle. After that, he started working for Meta to lead their face recognition and other efforts. And recently, he has been working with Google to create their strategy for the creation and understanding the use cases of the large language model. Because I was fortunate enough to talk with him and he was kind enough to reply to me back on LinkedIn, I thought I should go ahead and make this as a podcast so you can get the most benefit out of the same. Don has also been kind enough to share all of the resources with me. So I have gone ahead and created an article inspired by the same, and I have mentioned that in the description. So feel free to check it out. And let's go ahead and start the conversation. So, Don, I'll go ahead and start hitting the nail from the first question itself. Let's say someone wants to go ahead and get into AI product management. What is something that you are going to suggest them?
Well, when PMs come to me interested in AI product management, what I almost always say is, hey, AI product management is just like regular product management, but it's also completely different. And that hopefully gets their attention. And why is it just like regular PM? Well, the basics. Your job is to be completely customer obsessed. You need to get into your customers' heads and see the world from their perspective, uncover, clearly define their problems, and then, not just determine how to solve them, but how to solve them in a way that most cleanly integrates into the workflow. Because as we all know, and we've all stumbled on this in the past, while there may be like 10,000 different ways you can address their problems, maybe three of those ways will work for them. Okay. You still have three constituencies: the users, the developers, and your business leaders. But as always, the users are the only ones who don't already have a seat at the table, and you have to be their advocate. So all that is PM 101. So what about it is completely different? All right. Creating LLM-based products and tools is a whole new world. And I know that sounds really elitist, annoyingly elitist, but here are the drivers behind that statement. Okay, we're used to a world where you write requirements, you code to them, you QA the heck out of it, and eventually you get to the point where for every input, you can predict the output. And if you don't get that output, it's a bug. You go back and fix it, QA, et cetera, et cetera. But we're now working with a non-deterministic technology. And the key consequences of that are that, and this is what makes it painful, it can be extremely difficult just to quantitatively evaluate quality. That also means that that also makes it hard to monitor progress and to define success. And the result of all of this is that your LLM-based projects are going to require much more experimentation than teams and especially leadership may be used. I learned quickly not to use the word research, but to use the word experimentation. So, and even determining which LLM to use for your project can require experimentation time. Recent project of mine, I evaluated 11 models. And that was not in some esoteric area. That was in the personal insurance domain, was just doing my due diligence to see which one would work the best. So it's going to take longer than teams and leadership are used to. That means it's going to take more resources and more money than the projects that, especially your business leadership, but also your other colleagues, marketing, engineering, sales, that may be familiar with. So my not so humble opinion, taking longer than research and leadership may be used to means more resources, more money, blah, blah, blah. So there are two things that are key in order to have a chance for success. Number one is going to be your job to educate your teams and especially your leadership to all those things we mentioned above. And believe it or not, even before, especially before I have landed a consulting job, I start with a presentation about those issues when I'm talking with a potential consulting customer. I want to make sure that they're aware of that up front. And you have to build a rock solid ROI. So
Yeah.
look, if the project's going to take longer and it's going to cost more, you're going to have to work harder to prove your business case. And remember that we're now in a world where even the cost of serving the solution can become prohibitive. I mean, there are folks that are seriously having discussion if in the not too distant future, it's going to be so costly to run these systems that it'll be near impossible to make a profit on it. So, and you can get a specialist to help with the ROI case. But I really want to caution you, you have to be directly involved. You can't be hands off. You have to not only understand the analysis, you have to drive it because of all the things that we talked about that they may not be used to, maybe new to them. You have to drive it, of course, from the points of view of your three constituencies, but also from the points of view of experimentation, extended schedule, resource requirements, and investment.
Cool,
So
cool. Very interesting.
that was a very
Yes, yes.
long answer to your question, but I hope that was useful.
Yes, I think that takes us back to the fundamentals that no matter is it AI or is it like any new technology, you have to make sure that you are giving like right kind of ROI to the business. So I could
Absolutely.
understand that the basics never change, but because of the kind of beast of technology that we are talking about, I think there are some nuances that we have to consider before getting
Well,
into this.
there you go. You said it more clearly and succinctly than I did. So thanks.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, cool. Yes, yes, yes. And maybe another question I would have is that like because there are so many of us who become product managers, some of us become product managers without coming from a tech background. Some people are from the tech background. So how much tech does a product manager needs to know in order to get into, let's say, AI product management?
So that's an interesting question. And if you don't come from heavy tech background, please don't be scared away because there's tremendous value that can be gained from deploying these types of products. But as you alluded to, there's two types of PMs, and they're very complementary, which is good. There's the PM who started out with a business background, maybe even MBA, and then got interested, learned about technology. And there's a PM who started out as a technologist, maybe even a developer, and learned about business. And there are a lot of us who have become good at both. But typically we started out stronger in one or the other field. And once again, PM 101, you got to understand the technology behind the product well enough to clearly articulate it to articulate the pros and the cons, the liabilities and the possibilities to your users and to your business leadership. And you have to gain the confidence of the technical teams you are supporting. And all of us, any of us who've been in TPM long enough know that not always the case, but sometimes that can be an obstacle. So yeah, this is pretty new technology. And yes, it's all based on linear algebra and calculus, but that doesn't mean you have to be fluent in all that mathematics. Although if you are, God bless, and that's really going to make you stand out. But there are a few things which I think you at least have to feel comfortable with, have an intuitive feel, if not a mathematical, technical feel. Things like how does a neural net learn? And learn is in quotes, but it is called machine learning, so we can use that term. Why neural net based learning is a complete black box, even to the experts. So you don't have to feel weird that you can't really explain how it works. You can explain how it's trained, but not how it necessarily works. Really important. What's a transformer? And why is it such a breakthrough technology? How did it solve a problem in NLP that we've been chasing for 50 years? And that's not an exaggeration. And how does this attention mechanism thing, how is that the key to why it's all working? And why is that same breakthrough, the attention mechanism, also the reasons that it takes mountains of compute to train and serve these models? So again, none of this requires mathematical study. There are a lot of online resources, and I want to just shout out that many of my favorites are from Jay Alamar. Last name is Alammar, and I've shared some of them with you, and hopefully we can make those available. You want to have a good enough reason, a good enough feel, even an intuitive feel for how it works, but especially what it's good for and what it's not good for. Because yes, it is a breakthrough, but there are tons of things that it's not good at. And here's the TLDR, okay? Some of you may have read Thinking Fast and Slow. For those folks, LLMs operate at what was called in that book System 1 level, but they can't do System 2. And for those of you who haven't read the book, I'll save you from reading the 500 pages. System 1 is the things you can do without reflecting on, playing a video game, scrolling on your phone, your timetables, commuting to work every day where you get there and you've forgotten, you didn't even notice the drive that you took. System, and that's the stuff that LLMs can do, the things that are rote knowledge. System 2 requires thinking about thinking, planning, correction, review, reflection. Can't do any of that. And there are lots of people working on how to get around that. One of the areas of research is called agentic behavior, or using agents. You may have heard about that. And basically what that means is you got a ton of LLMs, or maybe a small collection, but you got a bunch of independent LLMs, and each of them is responsible for different steps. One of them for review, one of them for reflection, one of them for correction, one of them for generating the initial draft. And hopefully with that, by giving each of them a small job to do, they can't deal with the whole thing at once, but maybe each of them can do a small part of it, and you'll get a good result that way. The jury is out, but it's a lot of fun to play around with that stuff.
Amazing, very interesting, and for everyone who is hearing this and looking at this, Don has recommended a lot of great resources for me. I have gone through them; they have now become my personal favorite. So I'll make sure that I'm putting a list together and I'll make it available in the description of the video or the podcast wherever it is posted. So thanks a lot, Don, for that again. And Don, one question that I would want to ask, that you talked about that yes, right now we are far away from, let's say, level 2 of, or type 2 of the systems out there. How do you think, what is the time it is going to take? Is it going rapidly, or how hopeful are you about that we are going to reach that particular stage? And if, let's say, we reach that stage, what the world is going to look like?
Well, I can't make any prediction. I can make predictions, but it would be pretty silly. It's crazy how fast this field is changing. You study one thing, you take a week and study one thing, and the next week somebody comes out with a way to, not need that anymore. But anyhow, how's it going to look like in the next 10 years? Well, right now, because it's still early days, AI is the product. I've got people coming to me, help us. We need to do AI. We don't know how to do AI. Help us do AI. And my first question to them is, and after taking a breath and stopping myself from telling them to take a breath, I say, let's start with talking about the problems you want to solve. All right. But in the very near future, I expect, and a lot of it's happening today, that just about every product is going to incorporate AI, and potentially many, many different ways in the same tool or the same product. It's going to be just another tool in your toolbox, like databases, search engines, web interfaces, all that good stuff. But more than that, AI, especially conversational AI, I'm very bullish about the fact that it'll be as much of an assistant or a colleague to PMs as it currently is for coders. So a couple of anecdotes. I'm currently collaborating with Anthropic's Claude on a spec for a project that I'm doing, and I'm not exaggerating when I say collaborating. I mean, literally, we brainstorm together through ideas, and then through our discussions, we refine them together. I ask leading questions about whether there are other approaches I should consider, or to explain technologies I'm not clear on. and then I get it. Then I get Claude to write a rough draft, encapsulating what we have come up with, and I do the editing on that, and we review that a couple of times, and then get it signed off. So I'm hoping never, ever, ever to have to write a PRD on my own
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
They're important documents, but oh my goodness. Anyway, um,
Cool. Cool. Cool.
another anecdote. Recently, literally had a conversation with GPT-4o about Flask. Okay, so I'm building a proof of concept for a client. I'm trying to decide which UI framework I should use. I'm not a front end expert by any means. I'm a newbie. So I knew that I wanted it to be something that they could take to production if they wish, or could easily swap out. But and I'd heard about Flask. I didn't know much about Flask at all, but I knew I should consider it. So I took out my phone, I clicked on ChatGPT for voice conversation, and asked it to write a one-page introduction for a tutorial on Flask. And that gave me the perfect new background, right? What Flask is, what are the pros and cons of using it, what it was good for, what it might be weak on, and especially if it was scalable or easily replaceable by other frameworks, because there's a lot out there. Um, Great, so I got my introduction. I then sneakily suggested that we should use as the teaching example for the tutorial the exact project that I was working on. Okay, it generated a set of chapter descriptions, building up from the most basic elements, the full-blown UI. You know, we went from hello world to whatever, and it had code snippets for all of those. Um, then setting up the environment for Flask. And then I took it on a tangent about API access of the demo, which will be one portion of this project. We're going to add a chapter for that. And all of this was in the time that it would normally have taken me to search through tutorials on the net, some of which would be really good, some of which would not be as good, and most of them would require a follow-on search sometime later. So, you know, that's today. That's not even 10 or 15 years from now. So I don't know what's down the road for us, but you know, and I've been in this field for a long time. And you know, we've known about back propagation since 1986, but we didn't have the compute power to use it. Then came AlexNet in 2012, which some people consider the first real success in deep learning. And apologies to Jan LeCun, who I'm sure would have a disagreement with that because he did some earlier work. And then Transformers in 2017. And now we can literally have a conversation with, this is unbelievable, a trillion parameter language model. And in one sitting, as I described, learned enough about a coding framework that's completely new to determine whether I want to use it or not, and then have the LLM write the base code for me. So that's today. 10 to 15 years from now,
Yeah.
I would be silly to speculate, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see what's down the road for us.
Cool, cool, cool. I think that was really amazing and insightful. So also like of all the events that you have talked about, I'll make sure that I'll creating a list of those events and all the personality that you have talked about so that people know whom we
Okay.
are talking about. Yes, cool. Thanks a lot, Don. And Don, my next question would be that you have like moved from an individual contributor and to like a group product manager, and you have been a CEO of company, and you have led like really massive tech companies as well. So I would want to like ask you that what does it take? Like let's say if there is a new person or a new product manager that comes to you and tells you that give me like your 50 years of career advice, like 50 years of career experience into let's say 5 7 minutes, what you are going to tell them?
Okay, well, first of all, your mileage may vary. I'm not giving advice. I'm telling you what worked for me. So I was very fortunate. I learned very early in my career working at, unfortunately now defunct, Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, and then building ground support systems for the Hubble, and then which was my first intro into AI, and then building NASA's first AI applications group. I learned there were three things that were really key to me. And those are what I look for in what I look for in every new opportunity after that. The people, first and foremost, the people that I would work with, because I really thrive with inspiring colleagues and leaders who I can learn from every day. I also want to be working on something that makes an impact, and that can be anything. I mean, you define impact in lots of different ways. It doesn't have to be a Hubble telescope, but if you are working in healthcare, for example, you can have major impact on the lives of both patients and the healthcare professionals. But in any case, if you find something like that, there's absolutely nothing that's more exhilarating, more exciting, gets me really going than coming through the door to work every morning, feeling like I'm on a team that's working toward an important shared mission. And then, because I'm a nerd, I like working with cool new technology. And it's not just, there are some practical reasons for that. Well, not only is it fun, and you only really do inspired work when you're having fun, but every advance in technology represents an opportunity to revisit as yet unsolved problems to see if we can now address them, if we now have the technology to solve them. And I also learned that you don't have to wait and keep looking to find these opportunities. You can create them yourselves. You can build a new company. You can build a new group within an existing enterprise, or a new project within the group that you're already working in, or even a new approach to the project that you're already working on. And um, maybe a final note on this. It's hard to find all three of them at once, but finding two of them, or sometimes even just one, helps you put together the whole package. So tackling the most important problems, especially with new technology, that tends to attract the best people, the people that you really want to work with. By the same token, working with great people leads toward addressing important, impactful, and especially hard problems using new technology. And adopting powerful new technology, again, tends to attract the best people, and tends to lead you to addressing the most important or the hardest of the as yet unsolved problems.
Very interesting. So, Don, everyone, right, like these days wants to get like be into like a top of tech and be cut on the cutting edge of tech. However, like when we talk about being into tech and being relevant, there is one thing that is a big apprehension from people, which is you have to constantly learn and relearn and unlearn to make sure that you are at that particular mark. So what has been your strategies in order to learn new things and making sure that you are always up to the mark? Because you have like AI has changed in 50 years a lot. It is in a completely different shape now. So, what are your strategies or tips to learn, unlearn, and relearn these new things?
Um, well, it really helps to be entrepreneurial, right? And that pushes you. If you're going to succeed, you got to really push yourself to learn a lot of new things. Uh, but the fact that Gen AI is in its infancy um, is a feature, not a bug. It means that the pool of people who really know this stuff well is small. If you make some advances in it, you can really stand out. But it also means that uh, uh, um, Gen AI is in its infancy, which means that the entire universe of its applications is still, we've barely started to explore them. There are
Yes.
lots and lots of opportunities out there. So, are there business problems in your company that remain unsolved or poorly solved? Would they yield to a Gen AI approach? And that could be everything from call centers, help robots that now can understand highly nuanced user queries, process automation, um, enabling interactions, chatting with data without requiring how to code or even how a database works. And if you want to make friends with your senior leadership, that's always a good thing to try. So it's the age old problem. you can't get into the field without experience, and it's hard to get experience without getting into the. Go make your opportunities. Find these problems that need to be solved in the job that you're in now, if not in a new job, and take advantage of those and learn as much as you can. Don't be afraid of it being new because, like I said, it's new to a lot of people, and it's there is an old boat builder in the wooden boat community, which is one of the areas that I spend time in, and he said experience starts when you begin, right? So, your first project may be a small project. It might turn out okay, not as great as you want it to, but the next one's going to be better. And it's easier to get the next one once you've started, once you've got one under your belt. And you will find that, it's just like any technology. If you're doing web-based applications, um, you have to learn one UI technology, and that's tough, right? But once you learn one, you go to a project that uses a different framework, not that hard, or not as hard, and from there you keep moving. So take the challenge, jump in, find something that will be fun to work on with good people where you can learn, and go for it.
Amazing, amazing. I think being an entrepreneur like almost always works, whether you are like a business of yourself or maybe you are going ahead and working for a company. So this is also the advice that we give at like to students who come to us at HelloPM. So what many students face a problem is that like most of them are not coming from, let's say, a very good MBA or a very strong technical degree. So when they submit their resumes to people, to the HRs and to the CEOs and all, and most of the time they are going to get rejected because they do not have the enough credentials. So what we have suggested them is that go ahead, be like an entrepreneur, be like a product manager, assume that you have already become a product manager at that company, and then take their product, understand what you are going to improve, and then go ahead and slide, maybe give like a maybe detailed instructions on what you can do over there. Someone has also gone ahead, like there is a like a popular company in India called Cred, which helps you with your uh, credit card payments and all. So one guy absolutely wanted a job over there. He submitted the resume, not getting selected, and then he has gone ahead, created like a full website where he presented like if Cred was to enter into e-commerce, this is what they can do. And then he was able to get the job, and then Cred got into e-commerce, and now that is the person who is looking at the product management for the same product, for the idea that he has pitched. So it happens. And on just one more question that I have for you is that, let's say someone has to go ahead and start learning about AI. Okay, what are, let's say, the tips that you are going to suggest them without them being overwhelmed? And also, if they want to go ahead and maybe start approaching to companies, what would the approach that you would go ahead and maybe suggest to such a candidate?
Yeah, I would start by spending time with these bots. Uh, um, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. Just spend time with them, getting conversations. It doesn't matter about what. It can be about AI. It can be about product management. They may say things that will get you the wheels turning in your head, but just get to learn a little bit about how these things work, and you get a good feel for what they're good at and what they're not great at. Um, and I found networking is really a huge key, and that you can do that online. Um, in the past, I don't know, I don't know, but there was a time not that long ago when I sent out, I don't know, at least 100, probably more resumes, and didn't get selected by any of them, but by making a presence online and LinkedIn, people came to me with job or contracting opportunities, and you know, um, knowing somebody within the company or doing something informal often is the best way. It's really, really, really hard to get noticed if you're just sending a resume into a company. I know that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So if you've got contacts on LinkedIn that are at that company, connect them. Send a note to the hiring manager for the job, or just create a presence online. Repost posts that you think are particularly useful or interesting with a comment or two, and just do that a couple of times a week, and people start noticing you. I know it can be really, really discouraging. Don't give up, and have fun. If you're off on your off time, play with these things. If you are a coder, start playing with building, basic applications. Watch a bunch of YouTube videos. You'll find the presenters that you really like and that you're learning something from, and you can subscribe to them. But if it's something that you're really interested in, it's not by any means an impossible task. Stick with it, learn more, connect with people that are involved with it, and it's going to happen. Don't give up. I promise you.
Interesting, very interesting and very helpful, Don. Just like I told you that this was the last question, but finally this is going to be the last question that just clicked my mind. Yes. So the question is that when I talk to product leaders and like many traditional product managers, I have this question that what are your tips to work with, let's say, designers or developers or the senior leadership? But because we are talking about AI over here, and I believe that data scientists and ML engineers are equally an important stakeholder over there. So what are your stakeholder management techniques to work with people who are, let's say, more technical than you, or people who are, let's say, coming from the ML background, or maybe the data scientists out there?
Yeah. So again, it's not going to be any real big revelations, but folks on the technical side, everybody wants to see their ideas used and used productively and to help people or to do something interesting or worthwhile or fun. And if you learn enough, it doesn't take much, but you learn enough to know what they're working on, and you come up with ideas to how to apply that. You're going to get a lot of people that are willing to spend time with you to find out if we can really make this happen. Google is a very entrepreneurial company internally. They give you time, 20% of your time, although we all called it 120% because it was you still have to do your day job, but 20% time to come up with your own projects. So I would go around and see what are some things that are really important that we're not solving correctly. Go back to the lab and see if there was any technologies that might address that. If there was, then connect with the folks behind that particular research and talk to them and say, hey, is this possible? Is this crazy? And they would give you the mid-course corrections, and they would tell you whether or not it made sense. And then you find the group within the company that is going to be able to use the solution, and you talk to them and get their feedback. And most of the time, if it's a good idea, people are going to be excited about it, and they'll help you turn it from a good idea to a really great idea, and you're off and running.
Yes, amazing. I think the point boils down to that if people think that it is their idea that is being worked upon, they'll be more motivated and they'll also find.
Absolutely.
Yes, amazing. So thanks a lot, Don, for those
My
insightful
pleasure. I hope this
conversations.
was useful.
Yes. And I'm sure that this whatever conversation that we have, whenever we are going to make it live, with all the resources, it is going to help the whole product community, and everyone is going to thank you for that. So be ready for those new LinkedIn connections and a new kind of network that you are going to build. And we'll also make sure that we are also going to have you as one of the mentors at HelloPM to train our US cohort. So we are going to also talk about that. Thanks a lot, Don, for your time. Sure.
Absolutely my
So
pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.